What is competitive intelligence? Competitive intelligence is the ultimate opportunity for product marketers to take their skills of online stalking and gossiping and finally put it into good use. Competitive intelligence is that process where you gather information and data of your competitors and then you try to come up with meaningful action items like sales enablement, for example, and a completely different topic for another day. Competitive intelligence sometimes is done by a completely different team sometimes, or there's a specific person who might be doing market research for you. But if you are a product marketer in a SaaS or a tech company, sometimes there's a chance that you might be the only person that have to look into competitive intelligence as well, which is fine. We can do it. So how do you identify your competitors? Now you have your direct competitors because taking your features and product capabilities into consideration, there are competitors out there that you know that you directly compete with. And then you also have certain competitors that you aspire to compete with one day. They might be competing in different leagues because they might be a larger company, but you'd want to compete with them eventually. And then you also have your other competitive alternatives like April Dunford talks about in her book, obviously also totally recommended by the way, where it's not usually another product or a company that you are competing with, but your customer or your prospect might be using a spreadsheet as an alternative for your product or using an intern or some kind of homegrown solution instead of actually using a product like yours. So those are competitive alternatives as well. But when it comes to competitive alternatives or competitive analysis that we're talking about, we are talking about 2 to 3 defined competitors that you usually go head to head. Another easy way to identify these guys is who are your prospects mentioning, saying, I'm comparing you with XYZ, or who did your customers say that they left in order to adopt your product. So that's how you identify your competitors. So once you do that, how do you do competitive analysis? If you do have large budgets, you can go with a solution like Compite or Clue or Crayon. Some of these solutions or products are based on AI, which really eases the whole tedious process of doing competitive analysis. But if you don't have any budgets, you can resort to what I did, and that's what I'm going to share with you. So one of the first things that your user would usually do is to run a search. So you want to ensure that your website is SEO optimized. Now I'm not an SEO expert in any way, but when you're doing competitive analysis, you want to keep an eye on the terms that your competitors are optimizing for. So one of the sneaky ways that you can do is to go to your competitor's website, right-click, view page source. There is a chance that you might be able to find some of the keywords that they are trying to optimize for. There are also other tools like Alexa Ranking or even SimilarWeb that will show some of the organic keywords that they are optimizing for. Or if you have an SEO tool like Moz or SEMrush, that will also give an indication for some of those words that your competitors are trying to optimize for. This way you will be able to identify if you are falling short, or if you are aligned, or you are doing a better job, or you are optimizing for the right thing. Other than SEO, you will also want to keep an eye out for the content that they're coming up with. So obviously the website is the best place to go. You'd want to go to your competitor's website and see the sort of content that they are publishing and see what sort of narratives that they are trying to push. Again, an easy way to keep an eye out on the new developments when it comes to your competitors is to set up Google Alerts. You will get those daily updates like a prayer. When it comes to new appointments like management changes or new product releases they're trying to push, they will have their press releases publishing, and you would always get that if you set up a Google Alert. You'll at least be the first to know when those things are happening. Another thing that you can identify when you go to your competitor's website is to look at their career section. If you go to their career section, you will find out what sort of roles they're recruiting for, what sort of specific technology areas are they trying to focus on, and see how it might align with their roadmap. Another section you'd want to look at when it comes to your competitor's website is their blog. What sort of narratives are they trying to push? There might be certain things that they call trends, but really those might be the content anchors and pieces or messaging pillars that they might be trying to push when it comes to their product. Also look at analyst reports. Now, analyst reports are quite great because it's a third party that is doing unbiased research. They will show all the competitors and list out strengths and cautions or drawbacks when it comes to your competitors, and that will help you to get some insight and figure out how you can identify the differentiators or how you can emphasize on the value propositions of your product. Next is to look at product review sites. There are websites like Capterra, Gartner Peer Insights, G2, Trust Radius that once you go to when you type up your competitor's name, you'll be able to find out what users like about it and what they dislike about it. So keeping tabs on that is quite important as well. Next is to go into forums like Stack Overflow, for example. If you are in SaaS or tech, you would always be able to find out what sort of challenges that users have with their product. So those are some of the sites and resources I look at when it comes to doing competitive intelligence. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that you can do to understand your competitors is to talk to your prospects and your customers, especially your customers, because your customers will exactly tell you why they disliked it or what certain things they liked about it, or you will be able to talk to that prospect and find out why they liked a certain competitor than picking you. So speak to your sales team, speak to your pre-sales teams, because they also might have that intelligence as well. So competitive intelligence is important. Focusing on your competitors are important, but not so much that you completely lose sight of what your product is supposed to do. So you'd want to ensure that you balance it out by monitoring or keeping an eye on your competitor, but mostly focus on what your customers want and what your vision is for the overall product. But I hope that some of these tactics would be an easy way for you to understand your competitors better and gather information, so that helps your sales teams. But if there are any other ways or any other tactics that you currently use, let me know.